One planet, 7.3 billion people, only one you. Life offers us many opportunities and learning experiences. Are you ready to explore and discover this beautiful planet, the life and energy all around us, the spiritual world, and what is unseen, along with your own personal soul adventure? Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, is the spiritual connection you have been prospecting for. Internationally known as a tested and professional clairvoyant medium and spiritual advisor, Marc's work as a metaphysical teacher, medical instructor, radio show host, inspirational writer, and hiking guide are here to help you on a journey of self-discovery, healing, inspiration, education, and a whole lot of spiritual awesomeness. Dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live. For more information on Marc's spiritual practice in Seattle, Washington, please visit marclainhart.com or internet search The Intuitive Prospector.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be in this beautiful planet of ours. I'm Marc Lainhart, the Intuitive Prospector, here for another magical Mocha Monday, or what we like to say, Metaphysical Mocha Mondays, every Monday morning starting at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Check the description for wherever you're out in the world, from 8 a.m. here in Seattle, Washington, to 4 o'clock over in London, 5 o'clock in Rome, and anywhere in between. Thanks for joining me this morning. Make sure to subscribe, like, share, comment on the post on the show. And today we're going to be talking about sadness. Actually, we're going to be talking about, this is a weekly show which is focused on inspirations, encouragement, motivations, and of course messages for the week ahead to get you inspired. But I wanted to talk about, for some of you that follow poetry, or you follow short stories, there's a gentleman by the name of Charles Bukowski, and he's known as a German-American poet, novelist, and short story writer. And he talked a lot about sadness is caused by intelligence. So this morning's shows, we're going to be talking about sadness and how that actually causes intelligence. And I'll explain more as we go along. But if you're just joining me, grab your coffee, grab your tea. Let's move into the magic of the moment. Again, every Monday morning, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll follow by, right after with the Healing Cafe at 8:30ish. Depends. I sometimes go a little bit over. That'll be right here on the Intuitive Prospector page. So make sure, like I said, to subscribe, smash that like button, or make sure you're on the notifications. Turn those notifications on so you can get when I'm live, either here on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and I'm over on TikTok now. If you're new to the show, welcome. Post where you're from. I will be taking questions in the second half of the Healing Cafe, where I do live readings, spiritual chats, Q&A, live mediumship readings, if that's what I'm called to do. And I'll also give you a number for the week and a message and inspiration for the week. I do want to let everybody know that I do have a couple events coming up. So if you're interested in participating in any of those events, I will put them in the Facebook page. I'll just put the events page right now because there's some great events coming up for, including this morning, where we're going to be doing inspirational messages and guidance with my colleague Remitra Stavis, right all the way over in Norway. So she's over on the other half of the world, and we do a 5-part series. We did it last year in 2020 with amazing souls and prospectors all across the world, and it was a lot of fun. So it's an hour and a half. It's 5 sessions. I hope that you'll join me. I'll put that link right now in the comment section. Good morning to all of you. I see some amazing, beautiful people coming through. Good morning to Victoria and Erica and Jennifer. So the Eventbrite tickets are, if you go to my Eventbrites or marclainhart.com, hit events tab, you can click all the tickets from there I just started my Saturday workshops, 5-week intensive called Experience the Etheric. That is closed now, but I will be doing that again later this year. That's to experience the etheric world, the spiritual world, a lot of what I do, and sharing what I call the PEMS lessons: physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and material and spiritual. And then on February 6th, we've got a demonstration of mediumship with my colleague across the pond, and they're over in England, Penny Hayward, who's also a tutor at the Arthur Findlay College. We've got a 2-day workshop coming up in March. Looking forward to that. Like I said, I'm starting my soul guidance and inspired talks and messages with Remitra this morning. That'll start here in just a few hours after these shows are over. And then later this year, I have Paul Jacobs coming here to Seattle. Fingers crossed that we get through this COVID and that international travel will open back up. I'd rather have Paul come here to Seattle for the 4-day workshop in person to have his experience and his knowledge and his energy. That's scheduled for May 21st through the 24th. So we have some time to work through this pandemic, but I know there's a lot of online going on right now. So I'm hoping that we can get back to some sort of sense of normalcy and have that in-person experience with Paul and myself being a part of that 4-day workshop. And we're going to be doing a Saturday night dem at the spiritual church, one of the oldest spiritual churches here in Seattle. So make sure to join us for that and participate in that. And I also want to just let you know, I've started something new. I've got my classes over at Learn It Live, but I'm also now over on Patreon. So good morning, Rocco. I'm going to open up the Patreon community for people. It's going to be just those patrons that subscribe monthly. There's a lot of stuff in there, so you can collect whatever crystal or diamond or blue diamond or red diamond. There's a lot to choose from a monthly subscription. So if you're interested, I've gone ahead and put the link in the comment section as well for Patreon. That's my new membership for 2021, and building that community that'll be exclusively through Patreon and working with my patrons, and of course classes over at Learn It Live. And then last but not least, before I get into today's message, I want to offer up my free meditation that's now over on Insight Timer. Make sure to check it out, leave a comment, leave some feedback, how I'm doing with this work. If you like what I'm doing, great. If you don't, I'm always open up to feedback and constructive criticism, because I've learned in this world, you're going to get it regardless. So I've shared my meditation for self-healing. If you feel like you need some self-healing in this journey and everything that you went through in 2020 and still maybe lingering from the hangover of 2020 as we move into 2021. But this morning, I just want everybody, if you would, just indulge me. Just take a nice deep breath. Let's move into what I call the magic of the moment. Just take that nice deep breath. This is my Tibetan singing bowl from Tibet. It's the vibration of Om, which is theorized that this was the first sound ever created when the universe and galaxy was created, the Big Bang. Depending on what your belief systems are. But this is the sound, the frequency of Om. Just taking a nice deep breath. Breathe in today's message, today's energy, today's inspiration, motivation, encouragement, and the messages you may receive from me in the Healing Cafe, or if you don't make it over to the Healing Cafe, messages that you'll receive here in Metaphysical Mocha Mondays. So, grab your coffee, grab your tea. How this works is I get inspired based on my meditations in the morning. I pour my coffee and I pour my hemp infused hemp seed milk in, and then I look in and I see kind of what I see. And today it was a sad face. It was not a very happy face. So that led me to believe, okay, let me see what's going on with what's going on out in the world, and how people are feeling. And I kind of tune into the consciousness. And I can tell you guys, I know 2020 was a tough year for all of us. I do. I get it. I understand it. I had a lot of sadness in 2020 from, political divisions to how people just could not see what I was seeing. And, people don't have to see things the same way. That's democracy, right? Democracy is messy. But just when it came to just basic morals and values and how we treat others and how people could support somebody that's completely against that, I just had a really hard time. And it cost me some friendships. It cost me a couple of relationships with my family. It cost me some relationships with colleagues that thought this person was a light worker. I'm not going to mention it's like Voldemort from Harry Potter now. It's a name that I no longer mention because it caused so much sadness and tragedy and this COVID and not taking response for it. I'm pretty sure you can get a sense of who I'm talking about, as history will reflect how close we came to losing our democracy when we look back at this, but just how we treat people and how people could support that ideology. And it made me sad. It created a lot of tension with me because I see things before they happen as a psychic and predict that. I predicted everything that unfolded from this coup to this. I didn't think it would be an insurrection on our capital, to be honest with you. That took it a little bit far, but it made me sad to see that people will see different than what we see. And the art of spiritualism, you guys, is the ability to shift your perspective. But when it comes to right and wrong and moral values and you got to draw the line, right? And it made me sad to do that because sometimes you have to stand up and as John Lewis reminds us, the good trouble. And that was hard for me to do. Now, if you follow my work, I always talk about be kind, caring, and compassionate. But sometimes you have to be a Spartan without the spirit too. You have to be a light worker and a spiritual warrior to stand up for what is right. And I've talked about this because democracy is messy, and democracy has to have two different parties with different ideologies to find a balance in life, because if not, then it's a dictatorship and authoritarian. But to the point where you still have to have a moral code, a moral value, as far as things that are rule of law, following the law and obeying the law. And it just made me sad to see that unfold. And a lot of the journey that I have done thus far is because of great trauma and tragedy, that what I call the TNT that blew my world up, from the loss of my brothers. I just celebrated his anniversary of being in heaven on January 23rd. That's actually why I started my course, Experience the Etheric. That's kind of started my journey to go into spiritualism and get away from religion and more of just my journey and what that means to me. But the trauma and tragedies created a lot of sadness. And Charles Bukowski talked a lot about sadness, and he says this. He says that sadness is caused by intelligence. The more you understand certain things, the more you wish you didn't understand them. So basically, it's what he was really saying in this, and he's a poet, you can look him up, is it just means sometimes dumb is happy, ignorance is bliss, right? Sometimes we don't want to see the things, but sadness is part of the human experience. It's part of the journey. It's part of the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm thinking of Clint Eastwood. But you can't have, just like for Star Wars, I'm drinking out of my Stormtrooper. You can't have the Empire without the Galactic Empire without the Rebellion and the Republic. So you have to have balancing. You can't have the dark without the light. You have to have balancing energies. But sometimes that ignorance is bliss, and sometimes the sadness that I've endured to help me do and write the work that I do in my radio show has inspired me. And this morning, if you're feeling down, if you're feeling like you're just so sad, also look at it as a way of your intelligence is growing. Your intelligence is seeing the world with a different perspective, empathy, if you will. I think we can all relate, and most of us would agree. I'd say 70% of us would agree that we've lacked empathy in leadership the last 4 years, morality, just caring and speaking. Words matter, right? Versus lies and mistweets and misinformation. And, there's always going to be 30% of the population that follows people like that. That is registered throughout history. Learn from your history and you'll realize how close we came to repeating some of this. So I had to stand up for that. And through that, people disagreed with me. People were pretty harsh with me. I even had a death threat against me, if you can believe that, on social media. But that is also where we're at in our intelligence, is we're connecting through social media. We're in a pandemic, so we're all going to our computers. We're all going to the internet. We're all going to these different platforms with opinion, frustrations, myself included. But at the same time, it's, the problem with the world is that intelligent people are full of doubts, while the stupid ones are full of confidence. And I got to see that in 2020. And that's a quote from Charles Bukowski. The problem is the world is that the intelligent people are so full of doubts, while the stupid ones are full of confidence. And it was just like, am I not seeing what I'm seeing? Am I the one out of balance here? Am I the one that's just not seeing what everybody else is seeing? Maybe I slipped into a dream. I posted the other day that I was actually listening to a science brief from Dr. Fauci on this pandemic, and he's actually following data. He's actually following stats. He's actually using science to address this pandemic that we're all in. And I'm like, did I slip on a banana peel and been in the coma for the last year of where we should have been doing this a year ago? So, it really is, people are going to see different perspectives. And today's message is, your sadness that you may be feeling right now, that deep sadness. Maybe you've lost somebody from COVID. My condolences to you. I've been impacted by COVID. My family members have tested positive. I've lost a friend in New York to COVID. I've had colleagues test positive for it, and friends. And if you've lost a loved one, my condolences to you. But this is also a reminder that leadership matters, words matter, actions matter. When people show you who they are, believe them. That is so important, because it has a ripple effect that carries on. And sometimes we want to, go with that ignorance is bliss, and that's fine. But there are all sorts of different types of intelligence. And this morning, the inspiration and encouragement, motivation I want to share with you for this week is, if you're experiencing a deep set of sadness, know that you're also growing in your empathy as it becoming more intelligent through this sadness. So there's many different types of intelligence. I talk about this from a numerology standpoint, the 9 types of intelligence, because numerology is a system of numbers that dates back over 11,000 years. And I'm a numerologist. It's one of my tools for my spiritual toolbox, if you will. And good morning to my team behind the scenes. I haven't checked Facebook yet, but if you're on, good morning to you. And I look forward to hanging out with you in the Healing Cafe. But the 9 types of intelligence, again, 1 through 9, we're in the year of the 5, and the year of the 5 is all about balance. 5 fingers, 5 toes, 5 senses, 5 major organs, 5 major sensory organs. And this year is about freedom, love, and adventure. Now, for those of you that followed my work and my forecast, my predictions over on Inspired Living Radio, my bi-weekly radio show, I talked about the roaring 20s and what last year was going to look like. I also did my prediction show last week and what I see this year shaping up to be, including May and June starting to really shift into some really positive energy and some big things happening. So make sure to get that podcast. And this week, I'm actually quite excited because I have Mr. Don Miguel Ruiz coming on Inspired Living Radio. He's going to share a half hour of his time with little old me, humbled. And if you don't know who Don Miguel Ruiz is, he's the author of The Four Agreements, one of the first books I ever read on my spiritual journey. And we're going to be sharing his new book called The Author, about how you see the world. So I hope that you'll tune in this Wednesday. Just go to marclainhart.com. All the links are there. The latest articles from my predictions are all there through Om Times Media, Ariel Spiritual Community. I'm now a featured writer with West Side Seattle here as a writer. So you can just go over to marclainhart.com. You can get your link to Alexa to open up Positive Living, which is a daily app now that you can get positive living tips and spiritual tips from myself that I've recorded. So lots of ways to interact with me. Get on my newsletter, Soul Adventures, that's out there. Learn It Live, Insight Timer, all sorts of good stuff. But the 9 types of intelligence that we work with, first we have our visual intelligence, what we see here. Our focus does determine a sense of reality. We also have linguistic, which is more of that word smart. Some people are really good at wordsmithing, really good at, a gift for gab, as my grandma used to say. And I think she used to remind me as a small child that I had this gift for gab, not knowing that I'd be doing shows and radio later in life. I had no idea that was going to unfold. I thought I was going to be a firefighter, EMT, and retire and live happily ever after. Nope, different journey when you go through sadness. You have logical, which is that number, that reasoning, the logic and the analytical mind. Maybe you're good with numbers. I love mathematics, which is I'm not very good at mathematics, but I've always been fascinated with numbers and how numbers work. We're the only species that measures our life by time. Mathematics is the universal language, not, English or Spanish or Italian or French. It's actually numbers. So you have your visual, you have your linguistic, you have your logical, you have your kinetic or your kinesthetic, which is the body smartness, the body of muscle memory, your body smart energy, things that your body can do just from muscle memory or things that you've learned. You've also got the naturalist, which is just you're smart with nature. You just interact with nature. You're very good. You see nature in a different way. We've got you guys out there that are musically inclined. I play a little bit of guitar. I'm not very good, but I try to get better just with the strumming and the frequency. So you've got, musical intelligence. You've got, just being life smart, which we would call existence intelligence. You're just a student of life and you're street smart, as we would say. You also have interpersonal, which means you have interpersonal intelligence, which is working with people, life coaching. I think of some of the big names out there that, that really inspire and lead others. That's that more interpersonal intelligence. They can see others' problems or issues or burdens, and then have empathy and emotional intelligence is what I'd say. And then of course you have interpersonal, which is just you being self-smart, you using that journey. And I always say that, we start as pieces of coal. And when we know that coal is compressed with pressure, that we know that coal becomes a diamond, that diamond within. So you have that, we all have that intelligence, but there are 9 different types of an intelligence that we can, learn from the world. But the problem is the world and people will always disappoint us, guys. I don't mean to be a doom and gloomer. I'm not. I'm just saying that the world has always been a violent place. It took my brother, this world took my brother for murder just a few days ago. But that happened 20 years ago, the 23rd. And today is, what is today's date? I don't even know what's today's date. Today's date is, today is the 25th. So 2 days ago. So I understand the world. I see the world, and that brought me great sadness and trauma and tragedy and years of counseling and hypnotherapy and biofeedback and really prospecting for what is death, what is life after death, spiritualism, all of that metaphysical stuff. So, sadness can bring about a deeper sense of perspective and empathy, but it can also bring a lot of intelligence for your journey. So again, the world is always going to be a place of violence, a place of difference of opinion. I think what manifested and what really amplified it has been social media. I do believe that social media is causing a great divide. I know that I've seeing a lot of people come and go in my social media accounts from Instagram to Facebook. That used to bother me. It doesn't anymore, because I really try to use my platforms for positivity through social media. And I know that not everybody's going to agree with what I say. It's just when there's a difference when people start to attack you. And I literally had a death threat where I literally had to report the person and I had to block them. And, this is somebody I knew from, my hometown. So, people will, when they're passionate about something, they'll stand up, even if it's illogical or even if it's a false ideology, they will stand up for that. And, that's sadness. And, there's the old saying, speaking, trying to change the mind of a fool means that you're only talking to yourself. You're trying to, people have to discover it for themselves. And, just know that your sadness, if you're feeling sad today, whether it's everything that's going on in the world, from politics to social unrest to this COVID virus that seems to be amping up, which I said it would be with us for at least 2 years in my predictions, just like it was in 1918 when their Roaring Twenties started. World War I ended. They had the great influenza flu that killed millions, and then they got into the Roaring Twenties, and we're in that same, we're in that same energy. History doesn't repeat itself, but it does have a rhyme and a flow to it, as Mark Twain used to talk about. So if you're feeling that sadness, if you're feeling it like you've been just isolated and you're ready to, break free, I'm thinking of the song from Queen. I need to break free. I want to break free. Because I'm with you. And that's sadness, but know that you've lived through a great pandemic. Know that you've lived through a great transformation, and maybe write about it. Inspire others. Be a poet. Be a short story. Write a book. Do a show like this. Let these journeys and these what I call soul adventures challenge you, change you, transform you, inspire you. But know that sadness that you're going to feel from these experiences will bring a sense of intelligence in those 9 different types of intelligence that I just shared with you this morning. So again, I go back to Charles Darwin when he says it's not the strongest of the species that survive, you guys, nor the most intelligent, but the one who's most responsive to change. And that's where we're at. We're being pushed out of this bird nest to learn how to fly, change, whether it's in a virtual reality where we seem to be at now with everything that we're doing, to, like I said, the political factions and the divide and what's actually legal in the rule of law, and stepping over that and accepting that. People have their own choices to make, and that's free will and choice. But at the end, I hope that you'll embrace your sadness, and that you'll use sadness to know that you're actually becoming more intelligent through your sadness. So it's the year of the 5, you guys. It's the Chinese believe in numerology that the year of the 5 is all about the same elements that are made up under the heavens: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. And if you're looking at all things, we're in the year of the 5. This is a year of really blending the human body, from the 5 fingers and the 5 toes I was just talking about, to the 5 parts of the elements of our universe. This is all going to be about balancing and coming back from the brink, which we were very close to. And that if you follow my work, I talked a lot about this. So get your questions ready. We're going to get ready for the Healing Cafe. Thanks for hanging out with me this morning here on Metaphysical Mocha Mondays, every Monday morning, most Monday mornings, unless I'm traveling, but I'm not going to be traveling for a little bit, at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here in Seattle. Check the description so you can see all the details, the time zones where you're at. I hope that you'll join me Mondays to just be inspired, to inspire others, to inspire before we expire, and just to find your encouragement, your motivation, and embrace sadness as a true testament of your own intelligence and your own growth and transformation. So with that, I'm going to just do actual live to see what the universe has for us this morning. And today it's a 78. So spiritual career. So maybe you've been thinking about a spiritual career, or just a spiritual journey of, prayer is thought going out. Meditation is listening back, with my buddy Grogu here, listening back to what you want in your journey. It's the color of pink, which is associated to the heart. And of course, the color of love, spiritual career. But the number 7 is spiritual truth, and 8 is manifesting. So that's a very, very powerful thing to manifest. And also, I allow myself to connect with my higher power. I allow myself to connect with my higher power. And this is something I just taught about on Saturday, for the fact that we have 2 beings. We have our physical being, and then we have our higher self, the etheric being, your higher self, your spiritual being, whatever your belief system is. the journey is, how do you bridge them both together? Two parts make a whole. Some of you are feeling maybe that you're not that whole. Maybe you're feeling at a loss for something. So if that's the case, make sure to join me here on Metaphysical Mocha Mondays, my podcast, Inspired Living Radio, which will feature Don Miguel Ruiz this Wednesday, talking about his new book. You can private message me for an invite to my spiritual development group, which meets weekly here on Zoom, and have beautiful people across the United States, in Wales, and in Canada. And we have a good time every week. So if you want a visitor's pass, please let me know, just to work on your own spiritual development. It's SDG, Spiritual Development Group, psychic, mediumship, awareness, intuition. And then, of course, you can find everything at marclainhart.com. So with that, your crystal for the week is, grab a crystal. What I like to do to bring forth manifestations, things are born twice, first in our mind, and then what actions we take into our reality, is I like to work with crystals a lot. And this morning, I've got an earth pod crystal. You can kind of see it here. So these are all things that I like to manifest, you know. So I'm working through sadness of what last year was, trying to, you know, move forward. Again, you have to move forward, and sometimes you have to release that, or those that hold you back, and those that want to critique you and judge you and have opinion of you. That's just part of life. But just remember, if you stop to listen to every barking dog along the way, you never get to where you're going. And if, you know, people continue to apologize without their changed behavior, that's manipulation. So you sometimes have to break free of manipulation, gaslighting, narcissistic behavior, and sometimes that's not easy. It can be lonely too. So just, you know, once manipulation ends, rejection usually begins, because people want to hear what's coming out of their mouth, not what comes out of your mouth, unfortunately. But here on Metaphysical Mocha Mondays, I always inspire you to speak your truth, be kind, caring, and compassionate in what you do. Sometimes you need to be that Spartan without the spear. You know, that can be part of life too. Be a light worker and a spiritual warrior when you need to be. Stand up for what is right, or as John Lewis said, the good trouble. Sometimes we have to do that, and it's not always kumbaya and rainbows and kitty cats and cupcakes on the spiritual journey. But we can always respect one another, and if that respect is not mutual, then, you know, the thing of life is to move forward and not have that person. Unconditional love does not mean unconditional acceptance of bad behavior as well. So manifest what you want this week. Grab your crystal, drop it into your water. Drink that in and become the change from the inside out. I use citrine a lot for my journey. Citrine is very powerful. Like I said, this is an earth pod, just grounding out and dealing with some of the things I'm seeing going on in the world. But it's been a pleasure hanging out with you this morning. So your crystal is whatever you want to choose for this week. Just put a positive crystal in your water and let that water fill you up with positivity and happiness and health, and to change that sadness that we all feel in life, because we all feel it. We've all been there, done that. So you can start really celebrating life. You've survived long enough, guys. Let 2021 be the year to start living, regardless of what happens in the world. Find your journey, carpe diem, and just have a lot of fun. So until our next soul adventure together, be kind, be caring, be compassionate, and most importantly, dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live, and discover that diamond within. I'm going to get ready for the Healing Cafe, so give me about 1 minute so this video ends and loads to my YouTube channel. So if you want to get over on my YouTube channel, and then I'll be back for the Healing Cafe for live Q&A, readings, spiritual chats, and then later this morning, inspired messages and guidance for 2021 if you want to grab a ticket to that. So have a great rest of your day, everybody. Stay safe out there. Much love and blessings. Namaste. Take care.